like adults.
Hi, Chairperson Vivian, are you, looks like you're logged in. Just want to make sure you're connected all right.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
There is an ambulance and close by to my house, and my dog is going crazy. So I was trying to calm him down. Okay. Do we have quorum yet? Oh, we have quorum. Okay.
Yes.
Are we waiting for the other commissioner, or do we know if they're going to be here?
I think we're only missing Commissioner Vice Chair Navarrete.
Oh yeah, Vice Chair Navarrete. Okay.
I haven't heard from him, so I'm not sure if he will be absent.
Okay. And from staff side, are we good to go? Are we waiting for anyone?
Good to go.
Okay. Okay. I think he'll join shortly. Okay. So I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I want to apologize to everyone if you hear my dog. I'm sorry. Call this meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. And let's see, can we have Commissioner Figueroa, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay. You can all raise your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of the
of the
United
United States of America,
and to the
to the
republic
republic
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under God,
God.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And can we please get roll call?
Commissioner Figueroa,
Present.
Commissioner Gonzalez. I see him on the meeting. So Commissioner Gonzalez, you're on mute if you are speaking. Commissioner Gonzalez. Okay, we'll need to come back to him. Commissioner Leal,
Present.
Vice Chair Navarrete. Absent. And then Chair Beaton.
Here. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to move on to approval of the agenda. At this time, the commission may announce any items being pulled from the agenda or continued to another date, or request the moving of an item on the agenda. Do we have any requests from commissioners? Anything from staff?
Staff doesn't have anything.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Can we get a second?
Okay. Second it.
Okay. So Commissioner Gonzalez, he has, if we can get that to reflect the minutes that he is present. I don't know if he was marked absent, but he's here. Okay, so can we get roll call for approval of the agenda?
Commissioner Figueroa,
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Here.
Commissioner Leal,
Aye.
Vice Chair Navarrete, absent. And Chair Beaton.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to approval of the minutes. I hope everyone had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes that were presented with our agenda and our packet. It's the draft Planning Commission meeting minutes for January 19, 2022. Do we have any changes or anything from fellow commissioners on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move on. Can we get an approval for meeting minutes for January 19, 2022?
Or a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, that was the first, right? Can we get a second?
Second,
Thank you. And can we get roll call, please?
Commissioner Figueroa,
aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Leal,
Aye.
Vice Chair Navarrete, where we still absent, and Madam Chair Virgen.
Aye, thank you. Okay, and we're moving on to written communications. Do we have anything?
Staff doesn't have any written communications, so
Okay, thank you. We're moving on to public comments for non-agenda items. The public may address the commission on any item of interest to the public that is not on the agenda, but is within the oh, I'm getting something.
Commissioner Gonzalez, I think the feedback might be coming from you.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to turn this thing off here. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem.
It's
Give me
okay.
a minute here. Sorry about that. Are we good? Can you? No, it's still on, huh?
Okay, okay, I'm not getting anything back. I think we may be okay now. The public may address the commission on any item of interest to the public that is not on the agenda, but is within the subject matter jurisdiction thereof. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comments on non-agenda items?
I haven't seen
don't see-
Rosa, anything you're seeing?
We have none.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. Reports and requests, do we have anything?
There are none from staff.
I actually have a question, perhaps a request. I think a few months ago, commissioners were asked I think we were going to get shirts from the city of Coachella. I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to answer back to that email, but I'm just wondering where that is at. Curious.
You know what? We do have shirts and they're in my office. So I will connect with our one of our staff members to reach out to all the planning commissioners, and then they'll be available. So we'll probably have them available next week. So we'll send an email and a phone call to everybody. You have. I've been
Thanks,
partying
Gabriel.
that. Sorry about that.
You don't want to give them out, huh? Okay,
Nice.
thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move on to non-hearing items, and our first item is item number 2. It is Woodspur Farms, and I don't know how to pronounce this word, photovoltaic, yeah, somewhere around there, okay, project. And this is a request to consider an appeal of conditions of approval contained in the architectural review 21-10 for a solar farm project located at 52-200 Industrial Way. And the applicant is William, and I think he's here.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Nikki Gomez, Associate Planner, she'll be giving the presentation tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Commission, and I hope you see my screen. So yes, for tonight, the project before you is the Woodspur Farms photovoltaic project, a solar farm. And this actually was submitted to the Planning Division as an architecture review 21-10. And it is an administrative item, and it is coming before you since the applicant is appealing the conditions of approval or part of the conditions of approval. So just kind of to give you an overview of the project. So yeah, so this the solar farm will be located in a subject property here. It is located at 5220 Industrial Way. And this is an existing facility. This is where the Woodsport Farms facility is located, currently located at. And the property is approximately 25 acres. And so just a aerial view of kind of to pinpoint the location of the proposed solar farm. And it's going to be located in the northeast corner of the property. And as mentioned, the current existing facility Woodspur is on that lot. And so the solar farm will be installed, like I mentioned, at this corner, and it will provide power to the facility. And it expands about 4.7 acres, and that includes the portion of the spacing in between the solar panels, as well as up to the fencing portion of the project. So not just the solar panels itself. And then this will include 4,996 solar modules or panels. So it's going to create some clean energy for the usage of the facility. And so just kind of give you an example of I guess the height of it. So imagine that this is Industrial Way. So the setback and the gate that will kind of enclose it. And of course, you have accepted the conditions of approval that this will be a live fencing with landscaping material to ensure that it's covered from public view. And the typical elevation of a solar farm installation that's ground mounted. And so the applicant and staff have been working diligently to process the project. And so after the decision letter was provided to them, the applicant had requested to appeal the conditions of approval under the street improvement section of that decision letter. And just to highlight that conditions of approval. And so, staff realizes and understands that, this project is, would produce clean energy and it's beneficial to the applicant to offset that power. And so I just want to share that, realizing that, staff had strike through some of the typical conditions that we would have required for the applicant to do. And that includes street improvement, curb gutter, perimeter wall, landscaping, and street lights, and remains the sidewalk requirement. And so before you tonight, the applicant is appealing the removal of that condition of sidewalk as part of the decision letter. And so just to kind of give you an idea, and so this is the sidewalk that would be required for the applicant to provide as part of the installation of the solar farm for this property. And the applicant will have a following presentation aside from this to express the reasonings of that appeal, of course. And so staff is out, however, going to recommend to the Planning Commission that we uphold that decision letter that includes the requirement of that sidewalk as part of this project. And so that would be our recommendation, that the Planning Commission adopt resolution PC 2022-02 to uphold the director's decision for the architectural review 21-10 admin with the findings and conditions. I will call on the applicant as they will have their own set of presentation, but if the planning commissioners have question, I could answer that now, or we could always wait until the applicant does their presentation.
If I could add one more thing,
Sure.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, we do have Andrew Simmons, City Engineer, available participating in the meeting in case you have questions about that condition as well.
Thank you for the presentation. Do any commissioners have any comments or questions about this so far? No, okay, so I think we can allow the applicant to then go ahead and do their presentation. I don't know if they're here. Oh, okay, I see. William, you have your hand up. You can go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. Hey, Nikki, thank you, Nikki. Can you pull up the presentation I sent you?
Sure.
Before I start, is there like a time limit I have?
No, there's no time limit. You can go ahead.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much, and Commissioner and Chairman and staff. And thanks for the opportunity allowing me and my team to present the case here. Next slide.
Jesus Christ.
Ooh, okay. Actually, I would like to have Ted Johnson, who is the owner, kind of give us a little history about his business and growing up in the area. Ted, I don't know if you can raise your hand so they can
Yeah,
unmute you.
I did, if they let me in.
We can hear you, Ted.
Oh, you can? Wow,
Yes, sir.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
of course. We can hear you.
Well, boy. Well, first of all, good evening, commissioners, and thank you for allowing us to present this. My name is Ted Johnson. I am the CEO of Woodspur Farms. I just want to point out a few things. I mean, I've been driving down Grapefruit Boulevard since 1980. I first was employed at this facility at that time when only plant one was there in we opened, this facility opened on Valentine's Day in 1976. And it has been continually operating since that day. Never a shutdown, one change in ownership, and employing anywhere from 150 to 400 plus employees for the last 40 plus years. I would point out that I would guess, and it's an educated guess, that 80% of the payroll and monies that are expended in this facility stay in the city of Coachella. 80% of our employees reside in the city of Coachella. And those that don't, most of them reside further east, but they all shop in Coachella. So, you know, I've been a huge fan of Coachella for 40 plus years. And by the way, I wanted to point out that if whatever you guys had to do with it, the corridor project on Grapefruit Boulevard, unbelievably beautiful. You should all be very proud of yourself. So having said that, I mean, these last 2 years, I don't have to tell you or sit here and preach to you, but you know, with the COVID thing's been extremely difficult for us. We were heavily impacted as many of the produce, you know, companies were with shutdowns, restaurants. We're a big manufacturer of ingredients on date paste. The energy bar segment was you know, really hammered. So we've had a tough couple of years. And this project is extremely important to us and to remain competitive. You know, we're all about sustainability, green energy. We are the largest organic date farm in the United States by far. And, you know, we want to stay in Coachella. We want to grow this thing, and there's exciting things happening. In addition to the COVID challenges, the city of Coachella City Council passed a resolution last year requiring hero pay. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up, but we didn't fight it. We paid it to the tune of $800,000, paid directly to our employees. That money stays in the city of Coachella. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but there was a lawsuit filed by a number of growers up and down this row here, in addition to others in the city. I want you to know Woodspur was not part of it. We did the right thing. We paid it. And I think there's only one other ag enterprise in the city that can say that. Again, $800,000. We like to be good neighbors. We think we're good stewards. We think we're a great employer. We have some fantastic, wonderful people. Most all of them come from the city of Coachella. So it's been a real struggle these last 2 years. And so the reason we're asking for maybe these concessions is, we don't have an extra $300,000 plus sitting around for this. But I've said enough, and that's really where we're at. It has been a real struggle the last 2 years, but we'll get through it. And we want to grow this facility, and this project is dear to us. And I hope you can understand our position. So thank you for letting me present.
All right, thank you, Ted.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so to continue, I'm just gonna go through my slides just a little bit. I want everyone just know this project a little bit more in detail. So quick project overview. We're proposing a 2.3 megawatt, which equivalent to 2,373 kilowatt DC ground mount system. And it's shown in red here, the red area. And then the project will consist of 4,996 solar modules, and then with 30 PV inverters. We're gonna have total of 3 points of interconnection onto existing IID meters. That's how we connect and then offset the on-site usage, electricity usage. And it takes approximately about 2.9 acres on the east corner of the property. And I want to point out, it will be only visible from the street for this little, on the lower right hand, which is southeast corner. And some of the project benefits, it's potentially, it's gonna, once the system is commissioned, it's gonna produce 4,326 megawatt hour annually, and equates to offset 3,079 tons of CO2, and also equivalent to planting 51,044 trees every year. And then with that, all the energy produced, it will offset roughly about 87% of what Woodspur use currently on an annual basis. And it will also provide additional screen and act as a noise barrier from the adjacent neighbor, which is toward the east and to the north neighbor. And since the project is proposed, it's going to be built on the currently unutilized land they have, it has no or very low impact on the land. And I think the most importantly, I want to point out, it consists and it works hand in hand with the Coachella general planning under the sustainability and natural environment section. And some of the unique feature about solar project, and that is different than a typical construction or remodel project, is that the PV project, it's electrical equipment only. And then essentially it has no change to the land use or occupancy type. And it has no alterations to the existing parking spaces or parking count. And the only time that you need access to it is during the maintenance. And then all the maintenance will be done within the fenced area so the entire solar system will be fenced. Next slide. And then here I want to talk about the risks that we to the project that we identified from the current proposed condition of approval letter. The first one being the sidewalk, which is part of the street improvement. It will add a $150,000 minimum on the budget exposure. And the second one is the ask for to improve the site access. It will give us it will have at $176,000 budget threshold to potentially bring the project up to the Title 24 or ADA code. And then the third one is the in the letter it asks us to build a living fence. Since it's if you look at the picture on the lower right, you see how the neighbor has a really beautiful landscape, and then with a green fence, and that was the ask. And then we gladly accepted because we believe the static and then the street view is important to maintain the city image and the consistencies. Even it adds about $50,000 to the budget. Next. And I'm going to go into a little bit deeper on two of the risks that I identified earlier. The first one being the site access, which is, I believe it's under Title 24. And the project really, I want to make sure everyone understands the project really is electrical equipment only. And then it does not change the land use, how we use it, or it does not change the occupant count, and it does not alter any of the existing parking. And so I really believe this PV project really should be exempt from Title 24 compliance. But bottom line is really it really adds $176,000 budget exposure to to the project, and it will be cost prohibitive to the project. Next slide. And then we believe Title 24 it usually apply to the building and in its envelope only. And since our solar project is electrical equipment only, and then there's two pictures shown here. It's a project that we've done, and it shows the clearance that we have around the area, which will do the same for this project, and that provides there's a 20 feet setback away from the building, from the PV panel itself, and that provides the fire access, and it provides the maintenance purpose. And it will be all fenced. So we really believe there really shouldn't be any ADA requirement for the project, since it's maintenance only. Next. And then the hardship that we find too is the ask of a street improvement. And we understand how important street improvement is an important part of the city, city's general plan. But really, since we really believe the city, the project, we're located in the industrial zone, right? There's no residential. There's hardly anybody use a sidewalk. And then and I don't know if there's going to be any future or potential federal or state funding for the street improvement in the future. If that happens, I don't know why do we need to do it right now? But bottom line really is, with the concrete payment, it adds $150,000 minimum, to the project, and it's going to be a cost prohibitive to the project. Next slide. Yeah, so this is just a map that's showing the location of the facility, and I think that really the closest residential area is on the north side of it. But I think people who come to this area really just, they go into work, they drive. Nobody really walk. Next slide. Yeah, and I really want to kind of reemphasize, right? With the project here, Worcester really try to help the city to advance its goal, on the city its own general plan, by helping the energy generation goal, right? I think instead of asking us to do the street improvement, I really think project itself really goes hand in hand with the city general planning, as it's outlined right here. It's gonna produce clean energy, reduce carbon emissions, greenhouse or whatnot, and it goes on. Next slide. And then also I want to bring this Solar Rights Act in the Assembly Bill 2188, Section 65A 50.50. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of it. It's basically it's a policy of the state and the legislator. It's intent to encourage the installation of the solar energy. And the goal is try to remove the obstacle and minimize the cost of permitting for any of the renewable energy. Next slide. And further in section B, under the same section in section B, it really the way this bill was structured is really it's trying to limit the building official review of the solar system, as long as the solar system meets the health and safety requirement of the code. That should be, instead of expanding the review of the project to the entire facility. And I believe in that in our current condition of approval, there's about 25 of them, and we accept all of them because we believe our project satisfied the health and safety requirement under the building code, the electrical code, the fire code, the civil code, and that's all part of the condition of approval, except for the two that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, so that's the end of my my presentation. And Wolf's Farm, my client is a lone business owner, and then Ted grew up locally. We really want to support City of Coachella and its vision. With our proposed system, there are really many benefits, both economically and environmentally. I think the previous system will work hand in hand with the city's general plan, as I pointed out earlier. It will help the city achieve its renewable energy goal, reduce carbon footprint, promote alternative energy use, reduce greenhouse gas emission, and so on. It will also help tremendously Worcester Farm, right, thrive through this pandemic, by reducing their energy use and reduce the capital costs and become, stay competitive and continue to provide a job for the, for the area. We would like to thank council, and then I would like to ask council to eliminate the site access and then the street improvement, as it would be a huge cost prohibitive to the project, and it would definitely kill the PV project and all the benefits that comes with it. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. If we can stop sharing their screen. Thank you. Do my fellow commissioners have any comments, questions, or concerns that they'd like to raise at this point? Commissioner Gonzalez, I don't know if you were trying to say something, but you're muted.
Can you hear me
Okay.
now? Or?
Yep.
No, the question was directed at Mr. Johnson. I was just asking, how many employees does he employ there at the facility at Woodsquare?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We're seasonal, of course, but as I mentioned earlier when I was speaking, Like right now, 150, but during the busy time of the year. And this is just the facility, not the field. It's just north of 400.
Okay, so obviously, most of the big companies are promoting health and wellness and walking and exercising to keep your employees in the best possible health so they can produce, be, efficient employees. My question is that, you have a pretty long stretch here of around the facility, and if you're not providing sidewalk, and this is an opportunity for you guys to do it in terms of promoting wellness. I know that a lot of the surrounding facilities like Coca-Cola and the other date packing facility across the street from you have sidewalk. And the gentleman just said that there isn't much people, walking in the area. And, it's a safety issue also, if some of your employees are wanting to exercise either in the morning before work or after work, or, even during their lunchtime, I don't think it's fair to have these guys walk on dirt there, if they want to exercise. So I don't know. I think it's just it's a community investment I feel it's important, that's my position.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez.
I mean, I don't know if you want me to respond or not, but I mean,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can respond if you can. Thank you.
I mean, sure, I'd love to put in a sidewalk, but it's just cost prohibitive at this time. As I mentioned, we spent $800,000 on hero pay mandated by the city council. And if you go back and look at the minutes from the meeting, there was discussion by the whole city council that they were going to create a fund to reimburse part of this. We have tried to connect with council members, the city attorney, no response. We didn't bring it up. They brought it up that they were going to create a fund up to $350,000 to $500,000 to reimburse. Never happened. I mean,
What is your, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you said 800,000 is what you guys paid for the hero pay.
that's correct.
Mhm.
When you pay
What-
$4 an hour with 400 employees for 4 months, it adds up quickly.
What's your construction time on the solar facility?
I will let William answer that.
Hello, can you guys hear?
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
can hear
Oh,
you.
hi, okay. With the plan, approval, I think with size of project, I think we're looking at 6 months from beginning to finish.
Is there any way you could reach out to the city and maybe if there's a potential grants that could be applied, then you guys could do it within that time frame that the city can assist and helping with the sidewalk project? Because, personally, I think it's important, and I think that, it benefits the community across the board. It's not just the employees, but it's the entire community. It's utilizing that space. I mean, I see people walking on Enterprise, on Industrial, exercising in some of the surrounding neighborhoods. So I don't know if we could extend the time and see if you guys can reach out to the city, and if the city has any potential funding abilities where they could share the cost on the sidewalk. I mean, I think that's something that we should visit and during the course of the construction. I think that in the end, if it doesn't work out, I don't know. I think I'm just going to go with staff recommendation, but that's going to be my position.
We do have a staff, our city engineer, Andrew Simmons. He has his hand raised. I'd really like to hear what he has to say.
Thank you. I did want to make a correction to some of the cost projections that were presented in the report. I think there may be a misunderstanding regarding the site access, the ADA, the Title 24 comment. I do not believe that building and safety is requiring anything regarding site access. So the only part where Title 24 is mentioned anywhere in the conditions is specifically on a driveway condition. So that's just, the driveway has the little 4-foot wide patch behind the driveway that's at 2%. That's just at the same cost as the regular sidewalk. So I don't I believe that entire $176,000, that's waived. We're not asking for site access on site. I'm not asking for ADA access to solar panels or anything like that. I completely agree with the presenters. That would be excessive asking for that. The only request is just for the sidewalk immediately adjacent to the curb. And the Title 24 reference is just relative to having the driveways be ADA accessible. But that, again, that's only immediately adjacent to the curb. Just right away, looking at their recommendations, I agree with the recommendation that the $176,000 for site access, that's not being asked for, so that's stricken right away. Would you like me to respond to some of the comments about potential grants or other options that are in the neighborhood?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So as you may know, the city recently got something like $7 or $8 million for a public park directly at the intersection of Enterprise and Avenue 52. So just right around the corner from this facility. So within the planning of this area, I mean, we are hoping to encourage more pedestrians. We are hoping that more employees will be able to walk. We're going to have a brand new Central Park, only a block away. The other adjacent facilities, the Ocean Spray, they were required to put in sidewalk. Coca-Cola was required to put in sidewalk. The nonprofit AmeriCorps facility that's going in directly across the street, they were required to put in sidewalk. We are trying to get this industrial and commercial areas connected so that they can eventually be connected to that park and have that access for their employees and use. And as far as reducing the scope when it comes to encouraging the solar, I mean, I do want to state how supportive we are of Woodspur Farms and of this project. And as far as encouraging the solar and trying to make it as easy as possible, we did waive any kind of requirements related to street improvements, curb and gutter, landscaping, lighting, any other type of frontage improvements that may be asked as well. So we really did try to make it as minimal as possible. The ADA site access, that's not a part of the request that we're asking. So it's just the sidewalk, as Commissioner Gonzalez had mentioned, so that those employees have that opportunity to walk before work or after work or lunch. And they now in the very near future they'll have a very attractive destination to walk to as well, because there's going to be that park that will be available as well.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for answering all those questions. Do any other commissioners have any comments or questions or concerns that they'd like to raise now?
Yeah, I think I agree with Mr. Gonzalez. I think it's not far from 52, which is a residential area on the other side. So I think more people will have access to this site, and also, I mean, it's safety for them. They don't want to walk in the middle of the street. I think before work, it's a little bit dark at times, so I think it's safety for them to walk on the sidewalk instead of walking on the street. So I think I will agree with Mr. Gonzalez about the need for a sidewalk in this area.
Thank you, Commissioner Leal. I completely agree with Commissioner Leal and Commissioner Gonzalez. Even setting aside, for them taking like a break or taking a quick walk or anything. But a lot of times you have, workers that are waiting for a ride after work. And so where are they going to wait? It's important that I think we keep in mind and that we plan for the future, even if perhaps there isn't a lot going on in that area. It may not be zoned for residential use, but I think it's keeping in mind the safety and, wellness of our community. I know that in a lot of areas or in a lot of places like these, a lot of workers often have to wait for a ride. And if there's nowhere for them to wait, or if they don't want to wait inside, they want to stay somewhere outside, I think it'd be safe for them to have an area where they can. And like I said, just even planning for the future, they mentioned there's a park that's going to be right around the corner. Why wouldn't we want to have something like that, you know, safety nets, I guess, for our community members? And we don't know what else is going to go in, what's going to go across the street, what's going to go next to it. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. And the other thing that I kind of wanted to mention too is, do we have, or I guess it's more of a question, and I know, Andrew, you mentioned it, where there are other places like Coca-Cola and stuff that they do have those site improvements, but next to it, I think I saw it showed a little bit in the pictures where there's a property right next to it, that they have like the fencing with like vegetation on there. Do they have a sidewalk? I don't know if I could, yeah, okay.
Yes, they do. That's
think-
Vineyard Farms, and they do have a sidewalk as well.
Perfect. Okay, I just wanted to make sure my eyes weren't failing me, because I couldn't see really if it was a sidewalk or not that was there too.
I'm sorry, it's Anthony Vineyards. I missed.
Anthony Vineyards. Okay, so it's right next to it. Okay, thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions, comments,
Yeah,
or?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can I direct a question to Andrew? Andrew, is there any possibility that we could maybe reach out and see if there's any assistance on helping with the sidewalk improvement on that particular property? If maybe we could table this for another week or two and then look at what are the alternatives on how we could help in any way. And if there isn't, then, you know, we just gotta, you know, I'll take the position that we have to, that what city is recommending, but, you know, I'd like to see if there's an alternative on some possible funding or.
Grant funding would be fairly unlikely in an industrial zone, because a lot of the grants are dependent on you know, number of houses, proximity to schools, that kind of thing. So there has to be a connection. A grant would not. You would not really be able to find a grant that would do a sidewalk in front of one business, because that would be an expected developer expense. Grants usually are going to be much larger in scale, where you're going to have a 5-mile connection, where you're going to have multiple agencies or locations that you're connecting to. So a grant for something this small would be very unlikely.
So what's the total cost? I'm sorry, what's the total cost you had eliminated?
150 is the estimate that they presented.
Okay. So the other 175 isn't applicable to them. They had included that also as part of their cost. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yes, the other 176, I think there was a misunderstanding as to what we were asking for with that Title 24 comment. The Title 24 did not apply to anything on site or any site access around any other facilities. It's just just referring to the way in which a driveway is constructed.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, it's.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments, or would anyone like to make a motion?
And Madam Chair, just one thing, I did notice that the applicant's hand raised later, so it's up to you if you want to, I don't know if you're able to see that, but it's up to you if you want to acknowledge the applicant's team.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. I don't know if they're going to answer any other questions that maybe we haven't had the chance to discuss, but Mr. Johnson, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks again for listening. And my question was, what's the time frame on this park to completion? The proposed park for that the city's going to build.
I don't think we have that information yet. We
Yeah, we have the funding for it already. It's just I don't think there's a construction timeframe yet.
No, we would probably, that's something the city would have to look into. I mean, the grant is there, but there's a lot that goes into, you have to hire a consultant, you have to hire a lot of people. So I really don't think we have a timeline yet for that.
Well, because my question was going to be along the lines, I mean, if it's going to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, could we perhaps come to an agreement that when the park is finished, perhaps we'll put in the sidewalk?
I think it's gonna happen sooner than that. I'm kind of calculating it's gonna be within the next year, no more than 2 years.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Johnson.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
You haven't, there was another raised hand on the.
Oh,
participants. Lee.
Okay. Alan Lee, are they also with the,
Revo Energy, yes.
okay,
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak. So I also represent Revo Energy with our client Whisper Farm. So I just also want to point out that there is a financial benefit for our client moving forward with the solar energy system, aside from the environmental benefit that benefits the community as well, as part of the state legislation. Would it be possible if we can encourage this being treated, the sidewalk being treated separately from this project? We're obviously trying to do something good here, and we understand that the cost of sidewalk currently is prohibitive. However, once the solar system starts up and running, it comes with a lot of financial benefit, also cost saving throughout the year. If currently Whisper believes that the sidewalk is cost prohibitive, it may no longer be the case in a year or so. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Lee. Commissioners?
Well, it's impact, and it's required of all the entities. We're not picking on anybody specifically, it's what everybody has to do. So I think the big advantage is what Andrew just said, is that, not having to pay the $176,000. I mean, that's huge. It cuts it down to 150,000, which I think is reasonable.
Thank you. Okay, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, what's your motion, Commissioner Gonzalez?
Well, I think that the motion is that obviously you're not paying the $176,000, but I think that, the motion would be to actually require the sidewalk.
So staff's recommendation then.
Yes, basically, I'm going with staff recommendation.
Okay, I'd like to second that motion. Can we please get roll call? Or do we have any other motion? Okay, can we please get roll call?
Okay, Commissioner Figueroa,
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Leal,
Aye.
Vice Chair Navarrete, absent, and Madam Chair Beaton.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on to item number 3, which is city initiated. It's the interpretation of the Coachella Valley Municipal Code, section 17.72.010F.1, architectural review. This is for approval authority for the architectural review of single family residences. Whenever you're ready, Staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's going to be me. And I have a very brief presentation. I don't think it worked. Okay, I believe you can see my screen. Okay, so this item before you is a request for interpretation of the Coachella Municipal Code section for architectural review. So you just did an architectural review for a solar panel array. But you do also architectural reviews for commercial developments as well as residential developments. So some background to this, the Planning Commission, the Planning Division did present some streamlined zoning ordinance amendment recommendations back to the Planning Commission April of 2016. And these were adopted by the City Council in May of 2016. Those streamlining recommendations were to make it easier for applicants to go through the process, right? So things that usually would require Planning Commission approval were changed so that they could be approved administratively. So some of those items included creating a minor variance. So before, I believe we just had a regular variance, and that would require a public hearing before the Planning Commission. So now there's minor variances for setbacks, height, off-street parking, building height, within a certain percentage, right? The next was to create an administrative architectural review for certain commercial, residential, and multifamily residential project. So when that previously would all go to the Planning Commission, and so it created a special category for projects that could be approved by the director. And then the last was creating call-up procedures for the Planning Commission and the City Council. So for example, if the Planning Commission makes a decision, the City Council could decide, well, they don't maybe agree or the decision, or they just believe that decision should be also considered by the City Council. So they could actually call up a decision so that they can consider it. But at the same time, the Planning Commission can call up a decision that the director makes. So if we make a decision that the Planning Commission could actually call that up and hear that item. So that was back in 2016. And so what I'm bringing forward to the Planning Commission today is consideration of what was done for architectural review. And so this was a change that was made with those streamlined changes. And so this code section for architectural review changed. So for single family residential, instead of all architectural reviews for residential going to the Planning Commission, the administrative change was made so that it says not more than 3 single family residences pursuant to this section of the code, and new 1 family and 2 family dwelling units that if it fell into that category, it would only require the approval of the planning director. Everything else would require Planning Commission review. And so this highlighted section is where I think there is some ambiguity. And when you have some ambiguity in the code, it requires an interpretation to be made so that we can apply that correctly to future projects. So if you look at this section highlighted, it refers to this other section. And so what does that section say? Maybe this kind of clears it up. Well, this section says architecture review by the Planning Commission is required for development project, but only if it involves the construction of more than 3 dwelling units. And so, looking at the history since 2016 and how this has been applied, just by reading this, I would read this to be that if an applicant was proposing to construct 3 individual homes, that architectural review would be a director's decision. But if it was more than 3 individual homes, then it would be the Planning Commission decision. But historically, that hasn't been the case. And so I'll kind of explain what the experience has been at the city. So single family residential projects that exceed 3 single family units, so larger production developments. So for example, like Pulte Homes is developed with Valencia, Escondida Point that recently finished their construction by D.R. Horton. D.R. Horton's going to be developing Mariposa Point. That was the property the city sold to D.R. Horton on Avenue 50. those projects were approved through an administrative architecture review. But those subdivisions are subdivisions that would build more than 3 individual homes. And so what occurred with those is that those were allowed as administrative review as long as they didn't exceed 3 production home plans. So that means if you had like a model home and you had 3 model homes, as long as you kept it to 3 model homes, then it would qualify as an administrative architecture review. So I'm not sure if that's making sense, but I'll kind of give you another example here. So in the past, before that was amended in the code in 2016, a lot of the subdivisions that were considered production developments. So for example, like Aventine, you're probably familiar with a lot of these communities in the city. So Aventine, I believe that's on Avenue 51. They proposed 9 residential models. And those models also have, maybe like 2 or 3 different variations. Rancho Cielo Forecast Homes, that's on Avenue 52. That was proposed with 5 residential models. Bellissima, 4 residential models. Tierra Bonita, 4 residential models. Los Jardines by Ryland Homes, 6 residential models. La Morada by Lennar, 4 residential models. Kibi Homes built Somerset. That was 4 residential models. Rylington built the Prado development. That was actually 7 residential models. And then Rancho Mariposa with 5 residential models. So with the recent projects, those were approved with only 3 residential models. So essentially the architectural variation that we've expected in the past has kind of been narrowed by the way that the code has been interpreted for those 3 homes that would be proposed. And so the reason I'm bringing this before you today is that I don't think the intent of that was to apply to larger projects. So for example, this was a Vista Escondida, so they only proposed 5 individual floor plans with variations in terms of color and tile. The one below is for, I believe this one's for Sevilla. And so that's the limitation in terms of what's being proposed, because I think ultimately applicants would like to go through an administrative process versus having to go to the Plan Commission. And if you look at the staff report, that's an attachment to this staff report that went into the Plan Commission in 2016. It does describe that part of the code applies to small projects. And so for small projects, I would consider 3 individual homes. So I'm presenting this before the Plan Commission because I want to get your take on it. And, I don't know if the Plan Commission that sits on the, you all that sit there today have waited on this, but it is something that I do want to get cleared up because we are going to have future projects that are proposed. And this is going to determine if some of these projects are administratively reviewed or go to the Plan Commission. I don't have a resolution prepared if you were to support the interpretation that the 3 single-family residences only apply to 3 individual homes. But if the Plan Commission did support that, I would bring back a resolution, with that direction, as well as I would recommend that we amend the code so it's really clear in the future. Amending the code will take a little bit more time, so that would come back maybe in a few months. But I think what we can do is make the interpretation and apply that to future developments. That's the end of my staff report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Gabriel. Do my fellow commissioners have any questions or comments on the staff report?
Yeah, I think we need to go back to it just doesn't make sense because I think it's being abused. The original code was the way it was designed from the beginning. Some of the developers I think are taking advantage of it. I think that it shouldn't be done administratively. I think it should go to the commission. The commission should weigh in and give them an opportunity to give at least our opinion on what the development looks like. So yeah, I think it's a good way of circumventing the whole process. So I'm gonna recommend that we go back and anything over 3 houses needs to go back to the commission.
Yeah, I agree with Mr.
Yeah,
Gonzalez.
Gabriel, do you have any example of any community right now that is doing that?
That only proposes the 3 home plans.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of those examples I brought up, for example, like Vista Escondida. So there was the second part of that project, Escondida Point. They proposed 3 home plans. Now, I want to clarify something because it's separate to this, which might complicate a little bit more. If you have an unfinished subdivision, there are things in the code that allow you to have an administrative review. That is an unfinished subdivision, so they could potentially qualify under there. But for example, what's a new project that like the new project that's developing on Avenue 50?
Mariposa.
Calhoun, yeah, Mariposa Point, that was an administrative review, but that's an entirely new project, right? And so there are some other new projects that are proposed in the city or will be applying to the city for review and approval. And so those will be considered that way. Valencia was 3 plans only. Sevilla was 3 plans only, but Sevilla did go before the planning commission. And I'm also trying to think of anything else.
Hey, Gabe, on that, let me ask this question on the Mariposa project. Are they being required to do all the impact in terms of green space and the density? I know it's way up there, but in terms of green space, because I know that when I had seen the original plan that was proposed by the city, I mean, there wasn't any green space at all for kids to play, and it was just a dense community with a bunch of houses on it. And I don't know if Mariposa Point has actually reviewed it or revised that plan. But I think it's something we need to look at. I mean, I hate to see that new development go in and there's not even green space for the children to play or, people to gather. We need to make sure we include that green space in there and to make it a safe environment for people living in that subdivision.
Yeah, and I can respond to that. I think Commissioner Figueroa had something else to say as well.
I'll wait for you to respond to Mr. Gonzalez on that.
Okay, yeah, so that development, the city owned that property. It was actually already subdivided, so there was a final map that was created already. So the tentative tract map was approved like the early 2000s. So it was subdivided. It did have finished lots. There were certain improvements. So it was sold to D.R. Horton as a finished subdivision, which means that all the lots were already allocated for retention, didn't have a park already. But what the applicant would be required to do, since they don't have a park, they do have to pay into the Quimby Park Fund for the city. So there is an obligation that they have. It's just they're not going to provide it on site. They're going to provide money to the city for buying parkland and for developing it. So this one's a little bit difficult because there were already finished lots on the property where, for example, if you had a raw piece of land and you were subdividing it under the tentative tract map, the planning commission would review that, and then the planning commission would be able to say, hey, we need a park in this community, and you're kind of creating the lots there.
You're saying they do have a final tentative tract map?
Yeah, they had a final map. That subdivision was really kind of unique because the final map was recorded. Usually you don't have the final map recorded until you actually have an architectural review kind of approved. And so that was recorded probably back in like 2005, 2004.
You remember
Any way of Frank, any way of revisiting that, Mr. Perez?
Not really, because the subdivision is recorded. So they don't have to extend the entitlements like these other tentative tract maps because they're tentative. This one's already a final map. So there's no way to go back and undo the final map unless they.
Yeah, remember that previous planning commission, because we had to get rezoned back to housing, right? Gabriel, because it was tentatively going to be a park, and then the city ended up selling it. So with that approved map in that previous council and planning commission meeting, so we did see it there. So I drove by today and I saw a big, large retention basin. Like as you drive down Calhoun, like that's what you're going to see on that road is a big retention basin. So similar to the one you see in Valencia, but much more depth, has a deeper viewing from what I saw. So
that's a park space.
yeah, it is. It's there. It's just, wasn't planned out, but I did see that today when I drove by. So,
And then
but, to go back to your presentation, Gabriel, I think it does need to come, I agree with Mr. Gonzalez on that. So definitely, but with the question about the partial builds, so like, for example, Rancho Las Flores housing community, that's a partial build. Whoever would go there, they would technically be able to go through an administrative piece, but I would think it should come to the planning commission, because how do you keep consistency in a community, right? And in the perception of, those homes may have been built 15 years ago, but how do you keep a consistency of the architectural piece within a community? Because then you end up like going to La Ponderosa and Avenue 52, and that consistency there. Those homes actually look the same, but they were built at different times, and they were different type of builders, and one was low income build and one was traditional build, right? So then making sure they look is similar is the big key piece, I think. And so I'm not sure if you do that during your process administratively or not. So
yeah,
Gabe, I'm sorry. Do you guys do the architectural review administratively when they were actually approving these projects? Or?
Oh, so a lot of those old projects I showed you before that were listed that go back to the early 2000s, those all went to the Plan Commission.
Okay.
So the latest ones I kind of explained, I only have the 3 plans. Those were ones that were reviewed administratively. But you know what? One of the things I could tell you, we do still have that code section. If you have an unfinished subdivision, it does require, it does allow for the administrative review, and that's something that the applicant can take advantage of if they are making compatible architecture. We do have a project that is applying as an administrative project, so they're trying to do whatever they can to be an administrative project. That's Bellissima. And they have that ability to do that. But I do want to bring your attention to one other thing, is that we can inform the Planning Commission of the staff decision. I mentioned before, you can call up a decision of the director, but you won't know about it unless I tell you, right? So that's the other catch, right? So one of the things I also want to be able to do is inform the Planning Commission of some of these director decisions, especially like architecture review. If I know this is really important to the Planning Commission, I could send you the decision, and then what happens is that I'll have to be contacted if you want to call that up to a Planning Commission meeting. So letting you know that right now, just because we do have some applications, and that would be within your ability to do that.
I think that we had a draft, or I'm going to make a motion to draft not to be administrative decision, anything over 3, that it goes back to the Planning Commission and have the commission weigh on it.
Okay, so looks like we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second or another motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, do we have another motion? Okay, can we get roll call, please?
Commissioner Figueroa,
Hi.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Leal,
Aye.
Vice Chair Navarrete is absent, and Madam Chair Virgen.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, and staff will bring back a resolution at the next meeting for your consideration.
Thank you, Gabe. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. We don't have any public hearing items. So we're moving on to our informational item, which is an upcoming ethics training webinar.
Okay, I've got some of you that asked about some possibilities for training. So actually our city attorney, BB&K, they are hosting an upcoming ethics training that's a webinar. So it's online Thursday, February 24th. So if you don't have your ethics training up to date as a plan commissioner, there is an opportunity Thursday, February 24th at 10 a.m. I did email some of the information over. Then I'm going to ask Abe Sanchez, our representing city attorney, if he might know anything more. You might not have the information on this, but I know BB&K is putting this on the 24th.
That's a requirement, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
So there's just a couple of you that need to do it. So just want to let you know it's coming up.
February 24th, 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Perfect.
Gabe, do you have a list of who has to do it? Because I don't remember if I have that up to date.
I had to check my email, but there's a,
Okay,
and I don't know if I want to.
that's fine. That's
Everyone
fine.
on blast.
We don't have to go there. I was just wondering.
Isn't it required every 2 years, or what's the time frame, Gabe?
I believe it's every 2 years, and
Yeah.
maybe if you know any more about that, but
Yeah, that's correct. And sorry, I was trying to pull up, earlier when we were talking about this, I had more information about it. But yes, so we have AB 1234 guidance coming up. It's going to be with a BBK partner and a BBK associate, Nicholas Norvell and Tori Hester. And it'll cover, all the AB, basically every topic that's required to be covered under AB 1234. But generally it's like, ethics, laws and principles, financial interests, laws governing, personal advantages and perks like gifts, travel, loans, mass mailing, misuse of public funds, transparency laws like the Brown Act and the California Public Records Act and things like that. And in terms of who has to attend, it's, who should attend, it's, any in-house or general counsel and any officials, officers, and employees that file like statements of economic interest or Form 700s, which I believe you all would, and any employee designated by the public agency. So it would certainly be beneficial. It's on, as Gabe said, it's on February 24th and it's from 10 a.m. to noon. And if you, Gabe, I don't know if you already sent them information about it, but if needed, I can also forward you more information about it as well.
Does this include also the sexual harassment part, or is that completely different?
That's the difference.
it's separate. Yeah.
I believe it's
That's
separate.
Okay, just asking.
We have to do that one too, Commissioner
Yeah,
Gonzalez.
exactly.
Right. Yeah, just remember to do them so you don't get in trouble. But we'll make sure the opportunities that come up, we'll let you know so that you can take advantage of them.
Okay. Thank you. I have a quick question, not on this, but before I forget, are there other commissioners that are attending the League of Cities Planning Commissioners Academy in March?
There is, I believe, Vice Chair Navarrete is, so he
Okay.
contacted us, and then, yeah, so I believe it's you, Madam Chair, and then Vice Chair Navarrete. So, and then it closed today. Today is the last day for that
Right.
registration. So if there's interest in future ones, the only next one would be the San Diego APA conference. I think that's April 31st or 30th into May. So if there's more interest, let me know.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
And I do have one more informational item. You might be interested to know kind of what happened with the discussion by the Planning Commission about the Sunline Transit Hub. So there was a presentation that our city engineer did make to the city council, just kind of updating them about what was proposed and then the Planning Commission's recommendation. And so, I think the city council understood that there was interest in having something that's like better designed. And so, even if it might increase the cost. So a lot of that, we're going to be meeting with Sunline and eventually we'll come back to the plan commission, but that was presented to the city council their last meeting. And there was no decision, it was just a presentation.
Okay, thank you for that. And I forgot to mention it during like the reports and requests, but I'm curious to know where we're at with the lighthouse. I'm just wondering how all of that is going with their conditions of approval and all of that. I know there was some discussion probably last year or the year prior about like their parking lot situation and their trash bin situation too. So I'm just curious, hoping that we can get, you know, like a quick report or update maybe at our next planning commission meeting on where the city is at with them.
Yeah, and just a little bit about it. I think it's wrapping up in terms of, so it's been in the courts, right? And
Okay.
So there were, some of this is kind of closed session items for the council.
Got it.
But I think we'll have a report soon. You know, the plan commission did make a decision to revoke the CUP for the lighthouse. And it was kind of on hold because of the court case. We actually need to bring it back to the plan commission. And so that would happen sometime soon. So there'll be some more information as soon as kind of whatever is happening with the court case does wrap up, and there'll be more to report to the plan commission. But I know city staff wants to see something happen, get resolved with both with the lighthouse and with the hotel, and obviously see that developed, and everyone wants that. So we want to see that happen as soon as possible.
One comment just gave, I did see, I go to 6th Street like daily because I walk there. And that corner building is moving along, that it's progressing. And I know they've had a lot of stuff, but they're progressing, and that's something great to see, that corner there. So
yeah, so the applicant has reached out to us, and it looked like it stopped for a long time, and they're interested in finishing out that project and explain to us what their timeline is for construction. So that was encouraging for us to understand that they were going to finish it up, because we had seen the same thing.
Okay, thank you for those updates, Gabriel. Okay, that is the end of our meeting. I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 7:24 p.m. It was great seeing everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you at our next meeting.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, staff.
Bye.